Hey guys, this is going to be my April wrap-up and May TBR, where I go through the books that I read in April really quickly and tell you what I thought of them, and then go through the books that I plan to read in May. I did read 5 books in April. It actually kind of freaks me out how I managed to do that almost every month without meaning to. First book that I read in April was Reckless Magic by Rachel Higginson, which is a book I had read before. This is a series. Originally the series had 4 books, but then there are other books now, and I haven't read all of those, but I have read all of the original 4. But I won a print copy because I'd read it on ebook, and I won a print copy. Since I had the print copy, I decided to go ahead and read it again, but it wasn't new for me or anything, and I ended up adjusting my review to 3 out of 5 stars. Then I read Wonder Women, 25 Innovators, Inventors, and Trailblazers Who Changed History by Sam Maggs. I won this during Armchair BEA last year. I was really excited about it because obviously it's just a book about awesome women who have done awesome things, and it covers a lot of different areas, which I think you can tell from the subtitle. But you have inventors, pilot, scientists, pretty much people who've done just about anything you can imagine. And so many of these women were women that I had never heard of before, and which is kind of the book's whole purpose, is to share these amazing stories of these women whose stories haven't really been shared in the past. And I think it did a really good job. I gave it 5 out of 5 stars. Then I read The Vile Chronicles by Cassandra Clare, Sarah Reese Brennan, and Maureen Johnson. For anyone who isn't aware of Cassandra Clare's Shadowhunter books, there are multiple series that are all within the same fantasy universe. And Magnus Bane, who is the main character of this book, is the only character that appears in every single Shadowhunters book. This book is a series of short stories about his life. It's a bit hard to give you my overall impression on this because it is multiple short stories, and I had some different opinions on different stories, which makes it a bit difficult to give an overview of how I felt, but I did give it 4 out of 5 stars. Then I read The Other Islam, Sufism, and the Road to Global Harmony by Stephen Schwartz. I gave this book 1 out of 5 stars. I actually did not finish it. This book is about Sufism, which is a form of Islam. The author himself is a Sufi. He converted to Islam, and he's trying really hard throughout this book to make Sufism seem like the most superior form of Islam. It just feels like the author's trying too hard to make Sufism seem better than all of the other forms of Islam, and it wants Sufism to be like the key for the West and Muslims to get along with each other. It thinks like Sufism will solve all of the problems, and it's just, the tone of the book is really annoying. The last book that I read this month was No Place for the Weary Kind, Women of the Smokies by Courtney Licks. I just realized that I haven't given a star rating on Goodreads, but it's probably gonna get 4 out of 5 stars, I think. Ultimately, I did not like this book as much as I liked Wonder Women. This one did feel a bit repetitive, and like I was reading the same story over and over with a lot of the women, and it got worse as I went because I'd read more of the stories and it was more of the same. So I do wish either that there were fewer stories or that there was more variety in the stories, but it wasn't a bad book. Moving on to the books that I plan to read in May. I'm already reading 3 different books. I am still, of course, reading the Norton Anthology of Theory and Criticism, as I have been. I've also been reading On Being Stuck, Tapping into the Creative Power of Writer's Block by Lorraine Herring, which is a book about writing. Obviously, it's really short, and each chapter is also really short. And I've been reading it kind of slowly, and I want to read it quicker to get it over with, kind of, because I'm kind of iffy on this book so far. I don't feel like I'm getting much out of it. The next book that I'm already reading, technically I'm already reading it, but I've only read the foreword so far. I read it like an hour ago or so. You can't tell what the book is because this came from a consignment shop, I think. I'm not actually the one who bought it, but it has like, someone put, I don't even know what this is around it, but there's some kind of book cover around it, and I don't really want to take it off because I think it might tear. But this book, first of all, when you first open it up and you see Japanese. This book is not entirely in Japanese. This is the really cool thing about this book. The title of this book is Nippon, the Land and Its People, which this is the Japanese name for Japan. So it's a book about Japan. As you can see throughout the entire book, the left page is in Japanese and the right page is in English. I had no clue what this book was until I read the foreword, which explains what the book is and why it exists. It was published in 1982, if I remember correctly, and it was written by the Nippon Steel Corporation Personnel Development Office. So apparently this steel company in actually the late 1970s, they realized that their company was getting bigger, and because their company was getting bigger, their employees were coming into more contact with foreigners, and their employees were having a lot of trouble answering foreigners' questions about Japan. They talk about how Japan has learned a lot about the outside world recently, but the outside world hasn't learned a lot about Japan. I'm not sure how accurate that still is in 2017, but apparently their employees were meeting foreigners who had these questions about Japan, and the Japanese employees either didn't know the answer to the questions that the foreigners were asking, or they knew the answer but they didn't know how to explain it in a way that a foreigner would understand. So this company wrote a book for its Japanese employees where they had their employees write down all of the questions that foreigners asked them that they couldn't explain, and then they put them all together in a book and explained to their Japanese employees how to answer those questions to foreigners. And they did that in both Japanese and English so that the Japanese employees could see how to answer in English as well as Japanese. And then there was a publishing company in Japan that wanted to publish the book for public distribution. And they thought that it was important to get more information about Japan to foreigners, and so that's why this was published. And the copy that I have was printed in Japan according to the information in the book. I have no idea how it got to Indiana, but I have it now and I'm gonna read it. I'm so intrigued by this book. I have two books on my TBR that I haven't started reading yet. One is Harry Potter and History, which is edited by Nancy R. Reagan. It's R-E-A-G-I-N, which I guess might be pronounced Reagan or Regan, something like that. And this book is a compilation of various essays about both Harry Potter and history. And the last book on my TBR is Star Wars X-Wing Mercy Kill by Aaron Alston, which is the 10th, I believe, right? There's no number on here, but I'm almost positive it's the 10th X-Wing book. This one was published more than a decade after all of the other X-Wing books, but I feel like I need to read all of the X-Wing books, and when I read this one I will finally have finished the series, as long as no others are published. I don't think they will be at this point, but who knows. That is all for now. I will see you guys later. Bye.